What up, though, y'all? It's Chris, broadcasting to you from the D. It's a nice, hot, feel-good day here in the Motor City. Let's get into the topic at hand. Piracy looks like it's making a bit of a comeback. I know some of you love piracy. You kind of never left. Some of you may never have used any form of piracy out of moral or religious beliefs, whatever it is. But nonetheless, things currently, the way the whole digital market is, it's giving rise to piracy again. So let's dive into why that is. You remember piracy? Okay, piracy was a thing mostly because things that you might have wanted to get, it just wasn't as easy to get. Certain music. I remember music piracy became very prevalent because the prices of the CDs kept going up. But even if you would buy them, they kept trying to put these protections on them. They wanted to make it so that you couldn't copy it. And people, a lot of times, like myself, they didn't want to copy it because they wanted to do something illegal with it. They wanted to make a copy because after they paid $16.99 for their CD, they wanted to protect it. They didn't want to be placing it in their CD player and, their portable one or the one that's in their car and possibly drop it or something and they get scratched up. So if you made a backup of it, you didn't care. The risk of damaging it, it wasn't there. So it was just like, whatever. Well, if you make buying the music and consuming it too hard, then people are going to look for alternative methods. The solution for this ended up being the iPod. That's why it took off. It had it so that you could have all of your music in your pocket. You didn't have to worry about damaging any CDs. It was great. It was the same thing with Netflix. Remember, Netflix was really popping once upon a time. And Netflix, the Apple Store, it made it less necessary for you to use the pirating sites. And some of them kind of had like a community on them. They had like a board. You can talk to people and meet people. Back in the day, once upon a time, I used a service called WinMX, and I met a bunch of people from there. And it was great. I have no idea if that service is even still a thing. It was just a file sharing, peer-to-peer sort of thing. I ain't gonna hold y'all up. I got a lot of stuff from there. But I was like the worst type of user because I would download stuff, but I would rarely actually host stuff. It was some anime site that I used once upon a time. And it ended up, I can't remember what it was called at first, but it ended up becoming Baka BT because the guy who was the head of it was like really scummy. So all the people who like worked with him, they kind of did a bit of a coup. They took over it and kind of locked him out of everything. But they had it set up to where if you were a member, you had to host for X amount of gigabytes in order to continue to use the service. So I would host there, but on other ones, not so much. Anyway, your average person who just wants to watch a movie or whatever, they probably weren't on those sites. And I think that's why Netflix became as popular as it did, because your average person can just pay, what was it, like $10 a month, something like that, and they can either get the DVDs in the mail. Then Netflix had the streaming version. I think Netflix still offers physical media. They just don't advertise it because the streaming thing became so popular for them. But that made it a lot easier. People who just wanted to consume music and consume movies, Netflix and the iTunes store made this very easy. So as a result, the need for piracy died off, but now they're making piracy more popular again. Music isn't really the issue, I don't think. I think it's more to do with movies. Netflix is still the top dog, but everyone decided they wanted to make a streaming app. And this created a lot of problems. The whole reason why people started going to streaming apps to begin with was because the price of cable had got so insane. Now you had a way, it's like, okay, I'll just get Netflix and maybe one other one and I'm good. You know, this is enough media where I'll be happy. But then everybody tried to make their own version of Netflix. Everybody made their own streaming app. So instead of just paying for one or two of them, you now find yourself paying for 5 or maybe even more, just to not be able to watch all of the movies that you want. I personally still buy physical copies of movies for this very reason. I can't tell you how many times I went through like 4, 5, 6 apps for a particular movie that I wanted to watch, and it wasn't on any of them. And then I go Googling, like, what app is it on? Just for the movie to be on one of the apps that I don't have. So I still buy movies that I really like, because when I want to watch the movie, I don't watch movies very often anymore. But when I want to watch the movie, I don't want to waste time going through apps trying to find it. And then when I finally do find it, if I do, I'm now over it and have now kind of like shifted my focus to something else for entertainment. So if I have the movie already, if I have that Blu-ray, if I want to watch Batman Ninja, we can just pop it in and watch it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that was fun again. Like, there's the reason why I said that was because a new one came out recently. So my son and I, we were going to watch the first one again and then check out the new one. Fortunately, I have the DVD already. Well, no, I have the Blu-ray of it, so we can do that. But there was also the issue of all of the movies from a series being inaccessible. I remember I wanted to watch the 3 Taken movies. They were not on the same service. I had to hop from multiple streaming services to watch these 3 movies. It's like, if it's a trilogy, 2 are always on one. It's like, if it's a trilogy, Netflix will always have 2 of them. But one of them somehow, some way is on a different platform. You see where I'm going with this? Why it's just like, man, I would rather just buy the movies that I like and just have them on hand than pay for these streaming services, because it's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not interested in. And when there is something that I'm interested in, if it's a movie series, you guys don't ever have all of them. So what am I paying for, man? So I'm wondering how the resurrection of piracy is going to go. I mean, not only was it easier for you to consume media via apps, but the government had cracked down hard on file sharing services. Now it's not so easy for them to shut them down, and it's not so easy for people to get caught. Nowadays, you can kind of just get a VPN and still pirate to your heart's content anyway. That's why a lot of people, not myself of course, but that's why a lot of people never really left the whole piracy thing to begin with. So it's been an interesting ride watching piracy be sky high, watching the decline of piracy, because people were like, we'd rather do things legally, but that random movie that I can never find on any of the streaming platforms, I can always find it on Pirate Bay. But then they got better about it. So it was like, okay, well, I can find enough of the movies that I want, but whatever. But now that movie that you want to watch may be available on the streaming platform, but which one? And it always seems like the platform that you don't have is the one that has the movie that you want to watch at the moment. So it was just insane. We had piracy sky high. We had piracy fall because of ease of use for the customer. But now we have piracy on the rise again, because even though the ease of use, the on-demand element is there, it's now become so expensive to have all of the apps that is just like, you know what, the hell with this. And then Netflix did the unthinkable by cracking down on password sharing, when before they were encouraging of it. There's a tweet I don't know if it's still up, but it was like, you know, love is sharing your password. That was from the official Netflix account. So imagine everybody's surprised when they were talking about you can't share passwords anymore. I mean, I get it, times change and, you know, whatnot, but it didn't change the fact that that was terrible optics. So let me know what you guys think. Are you guys one of the many who used to pirate and kind of backed off from it because it became easier to just pay for it and have everything in one place? Are you one of the ones that you're looking like, piracy is looking kind of good right about now because all these apps are really expensive? I'm curious. Is that the black Cybertruck? There's a black Cybertruck that comes over here all the time. It says it's got cyber beast on the back. Yeah. Fun fact, this street right here is where all of the repo guys come. They come over in this neighborhood. That's how I know people down bad right now. They get the car onto the flatbed. They come around here and park right up here at this corner, get out, and then they do all the chains and stuff to lock it down really good, and then they take off. But they always come here. Never gonna catch your boy in that though, because I always buy my cars outright. So that's not gonna be one of my struggles. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Hit me with a like if you like what I do. Hit me with a sub if you like what I do. And hit me in them comments. I'm holla at y'all. Peace.